Mabuhay o in Kapampangan, luwid kayo. Welcome back to another video. It's me, Kirby Araullo, your friendly Pinoy Historian. And if you are new to my channel, kung bago kayo sa channel na to, in this channel, I make videos about our colorful history, our deeper traditions, our culture, and everything in between, like reactions. So, if you like any of those things, don't forget to like, share this video, comment down below, and please subscribe. And as many of you requested, like literally this last week, my inbox, my notifications from all different kinds of social media platforms, from Facebook to Instagram to YouTube, all your comments, all your messages, comments, DMs, PMs, it's been blowing up with the same request. And this is the topic of today's video. So for today's video, we'll be doing a quick breakdown of the new music video from Alamat, their new song, Kasmala, which is actually a play on the Tagalog word malakas, kasmala, malakas, malakas, kasmala. So, strong. It means strong in Tagalog. Pero bago yan, shoutout muna. Shoutout to Jason Polaksamana. So, Jason actually gave me a heads up a month or so ago. He messaged me and gave me a hint. Gave me hints about the topic and the themes that were going to be covered in this new music video. Not too much details, but just hints on the topics and themes. So, after Jason gave me a heads up, I actually planned on doing a reaction to the video. I planned on reacting to it. But actually, when the video came out, I was actually at the airport. So, I have a confession, I've already seen the video, so today's video is not going to be a reaction to the music video kasi nga, napanood ko na siya. I couldn't, I was at the airport and the video came out and, I was just waiting for my flight, so I decided to hit play and watch the video. And actually, kagagaling ko lang, kababalik ko lang. I just got back from the airport. I was out of town. I was actually out of state, spending time with family. Wala pa akong tulog, but, I figured let's make this video. Let's do this video now. Like, now na. Kasi nga naman, wala lang ibang laman yung inbox at notifications ko kundi ang request na ito. So, para sa inyong mga viewers ko, sa inyong lahat, ang video na ito. So without further ado, let's do the breakdown. So first, sa intro pa lang, sa umpisa pa lang, we can already see Taneo. Nakikita natin si Taneo, he's being tied up. Nakagapos siya while wearing his indigenous attire, his traditional clothing. And for those who do not know, Taneo is actually an indigenous person from the Cordilleras. And this opening scene pa lang is already a direct reference to the 1914 image of an indigenous Igorot girl na nakatali, nakagapos. She was tied up and put on display as part of this human zoo sa Coney Island sa New York. And then after this, we actually see a poster showing the Philippine Exposition at the St. Louis World's Fair. So in both of these occasions, from 1904 sa St. Louis World's Fair hanggang sa Coney Island, New York in 1914, so they brought a lot of our indigenous people from the Philippines to the US as part of this exhibit. Itong tinatawag nilang Igorot Village. And they were put on display to depict our people in the Philippines as the least civilized people. And it was very sensational. It was, viral that even after matapos ng World's Fair sa St. Louis in 1904, they continue displaying indigenous people from the Philippines in a lot of these Igorot villages around North America. And it lasted for a decade. In this music video, we also see Gami in the human zoo being fed dogs. And we also see signs that, says dog eaters in this music video. So dog eaters were the headlines that they used to promote these human zoos. To make money out of displaying our people as savages. So most of these tabloids in the US really painted our indigenous people as the lost tribe or a lost dog-eating tribe that needed Uncle Sam or the US to be saved. So, pinakita talaga nila na ang mga tao sa Pilipinas ay mga savages, mga parang mga hayop na kailangan ng tulong ni Uncle Sam to be civilized. And these headlines, these dog-eating headlines, were like, the clickbaits of the 1900s. So, bukod sa pagkakadisplay sa kanila na tila mga hayop, mga savage wild animals na nasa human zoo, ay pinagkakitaan pa nila ng pagkalaki-laki ang ating mga katutubo. So while the indigenous people of the Cordilleras ate dogs as part of their culture, these were mostly done as part of their sacred rituals, their sacred ceremonies. This is not something you just do every day, like eating rice. It was something that was sacred and special. Hindi siya basta-basta na lamang ginagawa araw-araw. Sadly, in these human zoos, they were fed dogs every single day, all for entertainment. They use our indigenous people as props to entertain white people and profit from it. They made hella money from the sufferings of our indigenous people. So, ang mga human zoos na ito were also found throughout the Western world, hindi lang sa US, maging sa Europa. They displayed and treated indigenous brown and black people like animals. So, itinrato sila na parang mga hayop at i-display sa mga zoo na parang mga hayop. Bakit? All to justify imperialism and white supremacy. Para ipakita na ang puti ang superior race. And these racist ideas and images against people of color, against indigenous people, were also reinforced by this pseudo or fake science to justify white supremacy, in which brown and especially black people were equated with being wild savages, that we were closer to apes o mga unggoy at chongo than the so-called evolved and civilized white people. And actually, in this music video, we can see this part where Mo, who is actually part Filipino and part African-American, when he was placed next to this white supremacist depiction of human evolution and the so-called grades of intelligence, wherein the most evolved were apparently the white people, while the most savage and animal-like were the brown and black people. And we can actually see this in the way or how Filipinos were depicted in the media, in the mainstream media in the US and Europe during this time. Gaya ng mga political cartoons during and after the Philippine-American War, when our people were painted literally as rowdy, uncivilized, and savages like wild little brown monkeys, which we now know is very racist. And sadly, many people still cling to this idea of white supremacy. So now let's talk about the miseducation of the Filipino people and the Philippine-American War that were also hinted in this video. But wait lang, before we talk about that, a lot of the topics, a lot of the themes that we see in this music video have also been topics that I've covered in my previous videos, in my earlier history videos. So if you want to learn more about these topics, check out the links up here or down below. Now back to the Philippine-American War. Sa mga hindi nakakaalam, the Philippine-American War was a bloody war and genocide, and it was the first major colonial war that catapulted the United States as a world power. So dahil sa digmaang ito, naging superpower ang US. You know, this massive number of casualties and brutalities that followed the war, the Philippine-American War, is also known as a genocide. But most of us have sadly forgotten about this part of our history. Pero teka lang, you know, we also hear and see Filipinos and hear them say that, you know, but America gave us freedom. America gave us democracy and education. Even before the war ended, the United States embarked on this massive education program designed to mold the minds of our Filipino people, of the people of the Philippines, in favor of America's so-called benevolence. And this American education, or as the renowned Filipino historian Renato Constantino puts it, the miseducation of the Filipino, really began immediately while hostilities were still happening. So hindi pa tapos ang digmaan, they already embarked on this miseducation of the Filipino people. They began sending hundreds of American teachers to the Philippines as early as 1901, and they were collectively known as the Thomasites. They were sent to teach in almost every corner of the archipelago, from Apari up north in northern Luzon to Jolo, Sulu, and their mission was simple. And you know, at first glance, it would seem that this was an act of benevolence from Uncle Sam or the US. But by carefully looking and studying the curriculum and how they implemented this education, it's very clear that these American established schools were meant to control the minds of the people of the Philippines rather than providing them with genuine education. And actually, we can actually see this scene, no, in the music video where Alas was getting scrubbed when they were bathing Alas. So nililinis at pinaliliguan nila si Alas nung kinikis-kis nila si Alas ng brush. So, you know, this is a direct reference to the political cartoon and magazine cover entitled The Filipino's First Bath, kung saan makikita natin si US President McKinley na pinaliliguan ang isang batang Pilipino. You know, in this cartoon, we can see McKinley bathing the savage and almost monkey-looking Filipino with the sacred waters of Western civilization. So McKinley practically used religion to justify their invasion of the Philippines and the exploitation of our diverse people. So in this so-called American benevolent assimilation, which in reality is really a colonial miseducation and exploitation, they embedded images of white Americans as heroes into the minds of the children of the Philippines. It erased our sense of pride in our identities. It made us ignorant of our own past and our own diverse but interwoven and colorful roots. And actually, you can learn more about these topics, all of this. I've talked a lot about this in my book. In my book, Black Lives and Brown Freedom, Untold Histories of War, Solidarity and Genocide. So ayan yung yung cartoon o yung reference, political cartoon na ginamit ng reference sa music video ng Alamat. It's from the Judge magazine cover noong 1899, June 10, the Filipinos' first bath. And again, a lot of these topics in this music video, about the Philippine-American War, about racism, the miseducation of the Filipino people, and the aftermath of the US occupation of the Philippines are also covered and expanded on in my book, dito sa libro kong ito. Kaya naman, if you want to learn more, check out my book in the links up here or down below. Maraming salamat sa inyong suporta. And speaking of the diaspora, let us now talk about the Filipino-American Manongs who were heavily featured in this video, who were actually the inspiration in many parts of this video. And I already made several videos, a lot of videos actually, about the Filipino-American history, about the Manongs in California and other parts of the US in the past. But, for today, let's do a brief introduction for those who may not know about the Manongs. The Manongs started arriving dito sa US back in the beginning of the 20th century after the bloody Philippine-American War that devastated our motherland. And the Manongs were also mostly able-bodied younger men o mga bata, mga binata pa sila, mga makikisig, malalakas ang katawan na kabataan who were targeted specifically to be a source of cheap labor. They were encouraged and they were lured in with the promises of prosperity and a better life, with the promises of the American dream. So dahil sa kahirapan na dulot ng Philippine-American War sa Pilipinas, marami sa ating mga manong ang napilitang mangibang bansa sa Amerika upang masuportahan ang kanilang mga pamilya sa Pilipinas. But life in the US turned out to be extremely difficult. It was the exact opposite of the American dream. They were treated badly and paid the lowest, or in other words, they were extremely exploited. So grabe talaga ang mga paghihirap na kanilang dinanas dito sa Amerika. And actually, napaka-porma din ng ating mga Filipino-American Manongs. They were very well dressed. They were dapper, ika nga. And they always dressed up nicely. And you can actually see this in the different parts of the video. Gaya nung nagbibihis si Tomas, when Tomas was getting ready, at nung sinusukatan ng damit si Valfer sa Los Filipinos Tailoring. And actually, Los Filipinos Tailoring is a real shop. It's an actual shop in Little Manila in Stockton, California. So for those who may not know, Little Manila in Stockton was, for many decades, was the largest concentration, was the largest community of Filipinos outside the Philippines. Maporma pa sa maporma ang ating mga Filipino-American Manongs. At bukod sa maporma, ay napaka-romantiko din nila. Kaya naman, marami sa mga babaeng Amerikana o puti ang nabighani ng ating mga manong. And you can actually see this reference in the music video. I believe it was the one scene with Taneo, nung parang ginagapang si Taneo. The relationship with the American women was also targeted by racist laws, or what we call the anti-miscegenation laws. So ito yung mga batas na talagang racist na pinagbabawal talaga nila ang pakikipagrelasyon ng mga puti sa mga hindi puti. So bawal talaga makipagrelasyon noon sa mga hindi mo kalahi. At ginawa nila ito para lamang mapanatiling puro umano ang dugong puti. Kasi nga naman sa kanilang paniniwala ay mababang uri, napakababang uri ng nilalang ang mga hindi puti gaya natin mga Pilipino. And this racist intolerance even led to violence. Many communities and establishments across the US had signs that read positively, "No Filipinos allowed." And some of these signs even threatened to burn down an entire town if Filipinos were allowed inside. The Manongs were even compared to savage dogs. At sa mga hindi nakakaalam, for those who may not be aware, the Watsonville riots was a period of intense racial violence targeting the Filipino-American community in California and throughout the West Coast. So hindi lamang sa California, kumalat ito sa iba't ibang bahagi ng Amerika. And during these riots, mobs of white men roamed around different towns armed with guns and other weapons. And they specifically targeted the Filipinos. They attacked and dragged Filipinos out from their homes. Innocent Filipinos were literally dragged out in the streets, beaten up almost to death. At ang kanilang mga tahanan, their homes were also peppered with bullets. Pinaulanan nila ng mga bala, ng mga pinagbabaril nila ang mga bahay na tinitirhan ng ating mga Filipino-American Manongs. And even Filipino-owned businesses were threatened and they were blown up. And throughout all this violence, at least one Filipino died. A young Filipino, si Fermin Tobera, was killed inside his own home. And it was was by all means terrorism, an act of terrorism targeting brown people, targeting Filipinos. And actually, the Watsonville riots was just one of the many violence, many injustices that Filipinos and Filipino Americans have endured throughout history that many of us have forgotten. And you know, if you're interested, again, I already made a video about this too, both in English and Tagalog. A lot of these videos I've already made in both English and Tagalog. So if you want to learn more, check out the links up here or down below. Or if you have more questions, let me know in the comments down below. So sa kabila ng lahat ng ito, despite all of these hardship, despite the struggles, the Manongs and the Manangs of their generation prevailed. They found strength, they found lakas, and along with their incredible resilience or tibay ng loob, they even made a huge impact in the history of the United States. They have fought for what we would now call social and economic justice. So marami sa mga ipinaglaban ng ating mga manong are issues that are still relevant to many workers today, to many of our communities of color today, to many Filipinos today. So medyo napahaba na to. So, you know, if there's any topic, any of these topics that you want me to expand on in the future video, let me know in the comments down below. Comment lang kayo. At kung meron ako nakalimutan o, you know, something that I missed in the music video, nakalimutan kong magitin in this video, let me know in the comments below kasi nga wala pa akong tulog, but, you know, we're here making this video. Marami pa talaga ako nakita sa video nito na hindi ko pa nabanggit. At yung isa pa palang nakalimutan kong magitin, yung yung mga headlines at ng mga tabloids tungkol sa ating mga indigenous o mga katutubo na dinala sa Amerika. Hindi lang sila pinakita na dog eating, pinakita rin na inexploit din nila this idea, this exotic idea, this savage image of being headhunters. You know, this is part of our culture. This is part of our culture not just in the Philippines but across Southeast Asia. But you know, they exploited this idea just to really promote this idea of white supremacy na napaka-savage, napaka-barbaric, napaka-uncivilized ng ating mga ninuno. But again, we can talk more about this in future videos, so let me know in the comments down below. So now let's see, bago ako antukin, let us see what made me glad, mad, or sad, or what I love about this video. Did I even love it about this music video? Glad. I'm glad, I'm happy that this music video actually had a theme on history, or this entire video is history themed. With special focus on the Manongs and the racism and the exploitation of the Filipinos. I'm glad that more and more Filipinos, younger Filipinos, are learning more about it. Kasi these are topics that we don't really learn, not even in the Philippines, especially not here in the US, not in grade school, not in high school. Which makes me sad that many of our people are just barely learning about this. Barely learning about the exploitation, the injustices, the racism against our people. In many ways, these types of racism and injustices are still present in our modern day. Kaya naman, I'm mad that, even over 100 years after the Philippine-American War, our education systems, both back in the Philippines and even here in the US, they don't really teach us about the history of our people. They don't really teach us about these things. They don't really teach about the history and the experiences of people of color, not just Filipinos. So it makes me really sad and mad that we don't learn about these. Na marami sa atin, they're only exposed to this because they watched the music video from Alamat or they watched my videos about it. Pero wait lang. What do I love about this video? Did I even like it? Did I even love it? What parts do I like or love? Well, one, I actually like the music. It's very catchy. It's good music in my opinion. I'm not a music expert, but I like the music. It's very catchy. And I love the part. Again, I love hearing all these different Philippine languages that they use in this song, like what they did in their older music video. And I love the part where they smashed and destroyed this very racist, positively no Filipinos allowed sign. I love the whole theme of painting our people as determined and strong, as malakas or Kasmala, as opposed to the weak little brown monkeys that they used to depict our people as. I love how this whole theme is about reimagining our people, the Filipinos, in a very positive and empowering light. So I do hope that this renewed interest about the history of our Manongs can lead us, can really lead us in continuing their legacies of strength, their legacies of resilience, their legacies of taking actions, that our Manongs embodied, and I'll just leave it at that. And again, you can learn more about them, about their history, about their legacies in my other videos linked up here or down below. We can really learn a lot from our Manongs, from their experiences. Napakarami talaga ng mga aral na ating mapupulot sa karanasan ng ating mga Manong at sa kabayanihang kanilang ipinamalas. Sa katapangan at kabayanihang kanilang ipinamalas sa kabila ng kanilang paghihirap. Kaya sana nang dahil sa video na ito ay marami pa sa inyo ang learn more about our own histories, about our own people's history. And I hope to see more of our people's the realities and experiences and histories and culture be reflected in the mainstream media, not just in the Philippines, but across the diaspora, across the world, around the world, or the universe rather. At syempre, bago tayo magpaalam at bago ako matulog, today's shoutout goes to Maria Aquino. Shoutout din kay Kelvin D. Malanta. Shoutout kay DNZ TV. Shoutout to the Thai guys. Shoutout to Kay Durante or Kai Durante and Lane Lucas. Shoutout sa inyo. Maraming salamat for your support. And special shoutout and special thanks to my friend Roseanne Chavez. Dakala salamat for your pasalubong. So to my friend Roseanne, dakala salamat for surprising me and gifting me with this pasalubong of the first 2 issues of Anito, the comic book series. So for those who may not know, Anito is a comic book series that was also created by Jason Polak Samana. We need more of this. We need more of 13, we need more of Anito, we need more of mainstream media that features, more of this pop culture that features our own roots, our own people. So again, I appreciate all their work, from 13 to Anito to Alamat and to other endeavors that really preserves our cultures and traditions and teaches it to the next generation. And actually, in this past couple months alone, there's been a lot of developments, a lot of things, a lot of projects in the works that I cannot talk about yet that really celebrates our beautiful diverse cultures in the Philippines. At hanggang dito na lamang muna sa ngayon. At syempre, huwag kalimutang mag-like, mag-share, mag-comment, and please subscribe. Special thanks nga pala sa lahat ng aking mga patrons sa Patreon na walang sawang sumusuporta sa paggawa ko ng mga video gaya nito. And for those who want to help me make more videos like this, show your support and please be my patron or get a copy of any of my books. Asan na ba sila? Ayan. So any of my books or coloring books. Naantok na ako. Any of my books or coloring books or any of the merch, link down below. Maraming salamat po. Dakala salamat, daghang salamat, agyamanak. See you next time. Or in Tagalog, kita-kits, and in Kapampangan, Mikitix. At sa Bisaya, kita-ita. Kasmala.